Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesdays. It's October 10th, 2023. We're very glad you're with us this afternoon. Let me see here. I'm just checking a few things. All right. Still waiting to see if our speaker still has not joined us. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For those people on Zoom, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just enter those into the chat window. For those watching on Facebook, please enter any questions you've got into the comment field. We'll be sure to get those questions answered for you. Let's see here. Also, for those people on Zoom, if you'd like to connect with everybody, this is all about LinkedIn. Put in your contact information. Let us know who you are, what you like to do, how we can help you. And by entering that information into the chat window, maybe you can connect with everybody else who's on the call today, and it'll be of some help. All right. Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Morse. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group meeting. The group's been around since the late 1990s. We have a very interesting speaker coming up this Friday, and I'll tell you about that at the end of this session. And I've been a member of the practice interview team since 2017. Remember, your LinkedIn profile, your resume is not going to get you a job. What it is going to get you is a phone call. How well you practice your interviewing skills, that's what's going to get you your next job. We have 4 outstanding speakers who talk about LinkedIn. They rotate through on once a month. Today, our speaker is Kurt VandeMotter. He's a retained search executive at Linked Executive Search. And he's going to talk about LinkedIn from a recruiter's eye. So, Kurt, thank you very much for being with us. And I'll turn it over to you.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Jeff. And welcome everybody that's here today. I think everybody's on Zoom, but welcome. And Jeff, I think we're going to start a little bit differently today. And what I'm going to ask everybody that's participating to do is to just take a second while I'm giving you just a brief intro into my background. And why don't you start thinking about the questions that you've got for a recruiter? You've got my time here for the next hour. And so what questions have you always wanted to ask a recruiter? Or what questions have you thought about asking a recruiter, but you didn't know who to ask? Start typing those in and putting those into the chat. And Jeff will keep and monitor those so that we've got a lot of dialogue during this meeting. The way I like to launch these meetings are that this is not about me. I have a job today. I own a business. This is all about you. So everybody on this call here today, if you've got questions, you've got ideas, you've got things you want to bounce off of me or the rest of the group, this meeting is for you all today. And so I want to make sure that you get the most out of that time. And the best way to do it, again, is to throw questions into the chat, and Jeff will queue them up for us, and we'll answer those as we see them. So a little bit about Kurt and my background. What I bring to the table is I spent the first say 25 years in corporate America with companies like PepsiCo, Dr. Pepper, 7-Up, and AT&T. And I was never an HR executive. I was always a sales, marketing, operations person. And throughout that time, I obviously did a lot of hiring, did a lot of firing. But after I left AT&T, I did some startup stuff, and I was completely transparent. I was about 48 years old, and I found myself on the bench. I'd been working for a company in Dallas, Intervoice, and my boss called me on the 4th of July and told me that she had eliminated my job and that I could stay on vacation as long as I wanted to, and then come back and negotiate my severance when I was done. So anyway, that's kind of what propelled me into the search business. But I've been doing this for 16 years now. And I am a retained search executive, as Jeff indicated. And the company that I am the chief storyteller for is called Linked Executive Search. And so we're just single shingle here in the Dallas market. And I help companies fill difficult roles, companies have had roles open for a while, or they've just not got the tools or the know-it-all, how to hire and where to go find great talent. They're in a point in the transition of their company. So that's what I do. I'm going to stop right there because that's enough about me. This is not about me, as I said earlier. But Jeff, are there any immediate questions? I think I saw some typing going on.
Yeah, the first question that Clint asked is, what do you look for in LinkedIn as a recruiter? Any major do's and don'ts? Well, I think we'll talk about that today for sure.
Yep, we'll get to that question. So I think we'll overwhelm you with information and things that you should and shouldn't do. So that I'm real confident we'll get an answer to that. We'll have an answer for that. So let's start off with what I think is really important. And I don't think enough people spend time getting to know or understanding the difference between the different kind of recruiters. So there's three kinds of recruiters, and Jeff's going to flash a screen up here for us. There's an in-house recruiters, there's outside contingent recruiters, and then there's retained recruiters. And let's go by one. The in-house recruiters, these are companies that are generally larger in scale, and they have a recruiting team to help their organization hire and fill jobs. I think the important thing to know about in-house recruiters are that they generally have a very full plate. So it's not uncommon for an internal recruiter to sometimes have 25, 30, 40, 50 job recs that they're trying to fill. An example might be a recruiter for AT&T, and they may work on the cell site side of it. So they're always hiring people that are out there building, testing, upgrading equipment on cell towers around the country and the world, actually. And so, that recruiter may have 10 or it may have 5 or 6 different jobs titles, but in each category have 10 different openings for each of those jobs. In-house recruiters. One of the things you want to do is when you're talking to internal recruiters, we want to make sure that we understand what the job is and that we've got a resume that matches up to it 100%. In a lot of cases, internal recruiters are younger recruiters, not always, but sometimes younger recruiters. And your job title in your resume, if it doesn't reflect exactly what they're looking for, they may not take the conversation with you because they don't understand that what you've done in the past 10 years is complementary to what you're trying to do with this organization. So we just need to spend a little bit more time with the internal recruiters, making sure that we understand what they're looking for before we just blast off a resume. Make sure you've got the job description and you've had a chance to make sure you've made any changes that are relevant based on the particular role. When a company decides to go outside, a business, it could be a large business, it can be a $1 billion privately held or publicly traded company that uses outside recruiters as well. Just because they have an internal recruiting team, sometimes there's a role that's confidential. Sometimes it's just too senior and they don't feel like their recruiting team has the experience in recruiting a person like that. So a company goes outside their organization, fill roles, and there's outside contingent recruiting firms. And these firms, they don't get paid anything unless they find the right candidate. So a company that's maybe looking for a vice president of sales might go out and hire or sign a contract with 4 or 5 contingent recruiting firms. And none of those recruiters get paid a penny unless they bring the candidate that gets the job. So you want to know whether you're working with a contingent recruiter, because many times they're going to go pretty quick. They're trying to get this placement done very fast. And so they may not spend a lot of time on interviewing you and giving you the opportunity to know exactly what's going on. So you've got to be prepared to ask a lot of really good questions. Certainly stay in touch with these people on a not daily, every other day basis to make sure you know where you stand in the process, because they're moving fast. I have only done contingent search maybe once or twice back early in my career. And my philosophy was that I would rather lose money on the golf course than to work for free. meaning that, I'd do this contingent search, and after a full day, I'd present a couple of candidates and they'd say, well, we just made an offer to that candidate or a candidate like that. And it's like, okay, all day I spent looking for candidates and now I don't get paid anything. So I chose the retained search model. And in this particular model, recruiters we are the only ones filling the role. So we're exclusive. We get paid a fee up front, a retainer. That's why they call it a retained search fee up front. And then we get paid sometimes throughout the process, in most cases at the end of the search. And that's based on a percentage of the executive's fees. So in none of these models do you ever pay a recruiter to help you find a job. I think that's really important. The other thing that's important is, and I've never brought this up before, Jeff, but I'm getting hit more often than I ever have before. And that is that there are companies out there that want you to hire them to help you find a job. Have you seen more of that activity today than in the past?
Personally, I have not, but now
I have. I've seen a number of companies reached out to me, and it looks good until they say they want $10,000 to help you find a job.
Right. So these companies have always been there, but I'm seeing them pop up on Instagram and Facebook on a regular basis now. And I don't have the names of them. I'm going to start tracking them. But you're absolutely right. What they want to do is they want you to pay them generally a pretty significant amount. It can be anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000, depending on your role. And they promise to help you find a job. But my recommendation is that people, you run as fast as you can from those organizations. There's nobody that can find you a job other than yourself. And finding a job is a full-time job. And finding a job sucks because you get rejected every day. You get turned down. You get people ghost you. You don't know what's going on. So I understand where you're at. Everybody on this call that's in transition, I understand where you've been. I've been there before. And I empathize and sympathize with you, but don't get desperate and think that you can go pay somebody else to do this work for you. Real quick story. For a while during the pandemic, I did some coaching where I was taking a fee for coaching candidates on how to find a job and the things to do. And I got to tell you, if that's the only way that I could make a living going forward in my life, I wouldn't be working because it's really hard. It's really hard to keep candidates accountable on what needs to be done every day. And they think that they're hiring you and that you're going to go make them all the introductions. And all they got to do is show up with a tie on, smile, and they're going to get a job offer. And that's just not the case. So it's hard work finding a job. And I just can't imagine other than I'll put a big bow on it. For instance, if Lee Heck Harrison is a company that your company uses for outplacement, that's a completely different situation. That is paid for by the company, not the employee. And I would take advantage of every one of those situations, whether it's resume writing or networking or inside tools that they've got, databases and so forth. Absolutely take advantage of those, but don't go pay somebody to do that work for you. Okay.
We got a couple before you get into your presentation. A couple of really good questions came in. What questions do you ask to vet a recruiter?
Well, really, when if first, that's two questions. If you're a company that's hiring a recruiter, that's a whole different set of questions. But if I'm a candidate and a recruiter's reached out to me, which is generally the way it happens, and I'll go to the point, I'll go a step further and explain as a candidate, if you're reaching out to recruiters, what that might sound like. But if a recruiter's reached out to you, you want to quickly try to understand, obviously what kind of recruiter are they? Are they internal recruiter? Are they an external recruiter? Obviously, what's the job they're searching for? Can they tell you the name of the company? You don't care about location at this point, even if you don't want to relocate. Those are questions that are going to get answered. You don't obviously need to talk about salary. They're going to get to that as quicker than you want to get there probably. So what you want to try to do is just be prepared fluidly to be able to ask some quick questions about the organization. And, can you send me a job brief that will give me a little bit better understanding of what's going on? Can you explain the process? I know you just made this call, but will you be my point of contact going forward? So those are all great questions when a recruiter calls you. If Jeff, on the other side of the spectrum, if you're a candidate and you're trying to reach recruiters and trying to build relationships with recruiters, I don't want to suggest that you don't try to do that, but I would warn you that if you get the door slammed, it's not uncommon, because most recruiters don't take the time to build a lot of relationships with candidates unless they've got a job open that's a perfect fit for that candidate. And I've had this conversation with many recruiters, and they've come from Korn Ferry and Stanton Chase and some of the biggest and some of the smallest. And one of the things I always talk about is that every day I pay it forward and I have a meeting with a candidate that's unemployed. I had one this morning with a young man for about 45 minutes at Berkeley's on Knox Henderson. And we talked about what is he doing, where is he going, what's going on in the search. And I just try to offer him some suggestions and tips. I do that every day. You won't find a lot of recruiters, and I'm not patting myself on the back. You just won't find a lot of recruiters that will take that kind of time with candidates. So if you're trying to build a relationship with a recruiter, then I encourage that you do the research to understand, is that recruiter filling jobs in your sector? Obviously, are they sales? Is it a sales recruiter that specializes in sales? Then yeah, they would want a reason to have your resume. But I guess the biggest thing I can offer is don't be offended, candidates, if you're trying to call recruiters and they just reply with a standard reply, send me your resume, or thanks, but I'll let you know when we've got a job that's the right fit. And I send those myself as well. I try to be a little bit more personal with it, but I can't talk to everybody. But I do try to pay it forward by at least talking to one candidate a day. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's a pretty good answer on how you communicate with recruiters.
Yeah, and one other question I would always ask is when anybody calls you up, a recruiter or a company calls you up, the question I ask is, well, what was it about my LinkedIn profile or my resume that made you pick up the phone and call me?
Yep.
What was that one little thing? Because who knows, it could be something on page 2 of your resume. It could be something, 5 jobs ago that made them pick up the phone and call you. Find out what sparked their interest, and then you know what to focus.
Jeff, that's why you're my wingman. That is absolutely spot on advice to everybody on this call. The other reason it's great advice is because whenever you can ask an open-ended question that gets and passes the baton back to the person that you're talking to, gives you time to think and start to react to what you want to say next. So, one of the things I always, we talk about on this call, and I don't want to overspend time on it, but one of the things that candidates have a tendency to do, Jeff, is when they get a phone call from a recruiter, they have a tendency to just want to tell us their whole life real quickly before they even know what the job is, or where it's at, or what we're looking for, or why we've even called. And so I just encourage candidates to try to take a deep breath, pull over to the side of the road, ask if you can call back in 3 minutes if you've already picked up the phone call. If you haven't, let it go to voicemail and call the recruiter back when you're in a quiet place. But to always be prepared with a piece of paper and a pen to be able to write notes down, to ask good questions. But 100%, that question, open-ended question of what was it that made you dial my phone number, is probably the best question you could ever ask.
All right, we've got some other good questions, but I want to save those because I want you to be able to, let's show people a little bit, and then we'll get those questions at the end here.
Got it. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to try to get open to my friends at LinkedIn. Everybody happy with the results from the game on Saturday?
Saturday or Sundays. Well, depending on whatever side you're on.
100%. Okay, so let's go back here. I do
Go-
share screen.
You have not
Go
shared yet.
Rangers.
Yep. Go Rangers. That's a good way to put it. Go Rangers. Okay, let's see. Okay, guys, here we go.
There we
Going to
go.
LinkedIn and I'm gonna get over here. Let's pull this screen over. So we're gonna go to recruiter. So I'm gonna get here and then I'm gonna stop for a minute and give you a little bit more history of this product that we're gonna look at. So LinkedIn Recruiter is a product that was developed by LinkedIn a number of years ago. And the history of it, for those of you that care, want to know the history of the brand, this product, was Korn Ferry was instrumental in helping them design this product. And Korn Ferry, as many of you know, is a worldwide recruiting firm, retained search firm in most cases. And they went to LinkedIn because every night when they turned off their lights, their database was out of date. Okay. And what do we mean by that? Meaning that when candidates, they were reliant, and their whole database was reliant on candidates sending them updated resumes. And so they said that we had to have a more proactive approach to developing a product. So what LinkedIn did is they said, okay, we'll build a product where we'll give you access to the database, 100% of the database, but candidates won't ever know where you're at. And that was perfect because let's just say that LinkedIn at the time, Korn Ferry at the time, let's just say they had a 5 million person database with resumes that were within 6 months old, okay? Well, when they developed this relationship with Korn Ferry and LinkedIn, they now had a database of 100 million people, okay? So they gained by working with LinkedIn on this product. But what they wanted to make sure is that the product was built on a separate set of APIs. So the database for LinkedIn Recruiter is LinkedIn. And that's all of you that don't pay any money, but you go in there and update your LinkedIn profile on a regular basis. And you continue to let your friends, recruiters, people you work for, people that you're selling products to know what's going on in your life from a business perspective. This is more of a business tool than a personal tool, but sometimes there's a little bit of overlap. So what they did is they developed this recruiter product. And when I'm in Recruiter, and you're going to get a chance to see it here, when I'm in Recruiter, you as a candidate cannot see me anywhere. I don't show up anywhere on your radar, okay? I'll say that again. I don't show up anywhere. When you go to your statistics and you look at who's looked at your profile, I am not in there. And anybody that's using LinkedIn Recruiter is not in that database and aren't in those numbers anywhere. And the reason is because if every candidate that I looked at knew that I looked at their profile and had a way to reach me, I would never get anything done. And so it's a tool for recruiters to try to expand their database and to get to know candidates. And it's done in a confidential way because you can't see me. So in order for you to learn about what I look at as a recruiter, what is important to me, ways that you can improve your profile, is to start looking at candidates. So what do we want to look at today, Jeff?
How about a technical program manager in the Phoenix area?
Okay, so technical, I'm going to keep typing program.
There you go. There it is. Technical program manager.
Okay, we're going to keep it real simple at this point. We're not going to put a bunch of other titles, but we'll talk about that in a few minutes. I don't care if that person is either in their current or past role, but I have the ability, if I want to select on current or past, not current. But I'm going to keep it open to both current and past. We want to look in Phoenix, Arizona. So I then go in and type in Phoenix. And it gives me Phoenix, Arizona, or greater Phoenix, Arizona area, both pretty similar. And then it gives me the ability, excuse me, to go into a whole bunch of other tools, workplace types. So, excuse me, one second. So types are remote, on-site, hybrid. I'm going to leave it open. I'm not going to select one or the other. I can select skills and assessments. I can give companies. They've already come up with a couple of companies in that area based on what I'm looking for. It can give me schools. This may be a tool that if I'm recruiting for a accounting manager in Tucson, Arizona. So if I was looking for like a controller in that market, I might be working really closely with the university in Tucson to try to identify candidates. And I might put in schools. I might put in schools because maybe I could find somebody that went to school in Tucson that lives in New York today, or maybe lives in LA and wants to get out of there and come back to Tucson. So, you know, the philosophy on that is different for every search. I could look at year of graduation. This gives me some of the age things that I'm sure we'll talk about here in a minute. If there's a particular industry, I can select industries, keywords, or employment type. But then if you look on this right side over here, you can see I can search for a whole lot of other things, okay? As far as names, education, companies, recruiting activity, and so forth. But for the sake of starting to look at candidates, let's just go ahead and do the search, okay? So at the top here, Jeff, we've got this section that's called Open to Work, Active Talent, Rediscovered Candidates, Internal Candidates, and Interested in Your Company, okay? So obviously there's only two categories that are full here, and there's 899 people here, right here, 899 that are in my search that are technical sale or technical program managers in the greater Phoenix area. We're going to find people with a lot of different industries, but the bottom line is there's 899. Now, 288 have self-selected that they are open to work, okay? And there's two ways that you can tell your network that you're open to work. You can be like Melissa here, and Melissa is open to work, okay? But she is she's selected to just tell recruiters that she's open to work. She has not told her whole world by putting the green wreath or the green ribbon on herself, okay? So if she is actively looking, and we'll look here, we'll see right now here in a second, she was with Intel, current, most recent, Intel Corporation, and she's got it as through present. So she's still working potentially at Intel. And that's why she doesn't want to potentially tell everybody that she is an active candidate, because she doesn't want a friend from work or her CEO or somebody else to click on her profile and see that she's open to work. So she is just telling recruiters that use LinkedIn Recruiter that she's open to work. But while we've got her on her profile here, I want to just share that this is a real interesting profile with the use of emojis that I've not seen in the past. But you can see that she's done a really creative job of demonstrating her ability and some of the things she's done in a technical way, in a fun, easy to read, way. I mean, I think she's done a very creative job of doing it. Her profile is filled out, Intel Corporation, 12 years. She's listed the different jobs that she's had, and she's done a really nice job of using words and sentences to describe what she does. So a lot of key words, ROI, balanced process and cadence to allow urgent execution. Wow, those are really good sentences. She's got hardware, Moon Island, solution in 4 months. Again, real good use of words. Didn't go back as thorough earlier in her career. I don't know why that is, but she started with Intel and went back, so that's not a bad thing. But one of the things that she could do to beef this profile up is something that I recommend to every candidate, whether you're active, meaning you are unemployed, you're an active candidate, or if you're a passively active candidate, is give me your contact information in this summary section here. Okay. There's no reason why Melissa couldn't put in there her email address and her phone number so that I could, if I clicked on her profile, easily pick up the phone and call her. It would not be a red flag to her employer, and it would probably accelerate her search in many ways. So that's the one suggestion that I've got for Melissa. But let's go on, because I think the next one is John Miller. Here he's telling everybody he's got the green open to work. Okay. Why do we put that on? Why do we put that on our wreath on like that? Well, the reason is because your network is your net worth. Okay. And so we want to try to make sure that everybody, if we are an active candidate, we're actively looking for new opportunities. We want to make sure that everybody in our network knows that we are looking. I can't tell you how many times I hear stories about, somebody that's got this green wreath on, and the CEO's admin is not a recruiter, but she's helping him fill a job. And he's traveling for a couple of days, and she's on LinkedIn, and she doesn't have the recruiter product, but she used to work with John, and she comes across his profile and she's like, man, I would love to have the opportunity with John again. He was awesome doing the work that he did. She might have gone right by John if she hadn't seen that green wreath, because it wouldn't have been a signal that, John's probably happy where he's at. Why would he be looking for a new opportunity? Well, now it's a visual signal to everybody. It tells recruiters, it tells everybody, but then make sure you follow it up with things that are just basics. And so if anybody on this call knows John, I hope you just be kind when you call him and tell him I didn't try to tear apart his profile too badly, but he's got nothing in his summary here, okay, other than he's open to work. So this is the most valuable real estate to a candidate that you can get. I think it's 2,500 characters that LinkedIn gives you in that space. And my recommendation is that you fill it full of words, excuse me, keywords, words that help describe what you are, who you are, what you've done. Pull those out of your resume, pull those out of job descriptions as far as, what people are looking for. Maybe you have managed a P&L, you don't have it in your resume, but you continually see that in job descriptions. Put those keywords in your LinkedIn profile and give me complete overviews of all the work that you've done. So John is probably 28 years out of school. I mean, he doesn't have his Arizona State graduation date, but he probably, I'm not for sure, but he's probably at least 30 years old. So 30 plus 20, 50 years old. That's not uncommon, okay? That he doesn't have any other work in between there. But if he has, this is a great place to fill that out and let recruiters see the work that you've done and use the words to describe what you've done and the successes that you've had, okay? I'm going to go to the next one because John wasn't a great example. Here's David, or Dodd, excuse me. Dodd doesn't have a picture in there. That's always a red flag. He was with Intel for a long time, done a really good job of giving us background information and what he's done. We have his graduation dates if we wanted to, but that's not necessarily important. But here again, well, he's got a pretty good profile, summary section here, but he has not given us his phone number and his email address. And so it's just a huge, and let me explain why real quick. I don't think I did a very good job of that. Is that when I want to talk to this young man, I only have one opportunity because there's no contact information here and I'm not connected to him. So I only have one opportunity, and that's to send him an email. So I go over here and I have all these templates for jobs that I've filled that I can click on and just go boom and send him a message almost at the snap of a hat. Okay. But guess what? Only 8 to 9% of people reply to in-mails. 8 to 9%. So if I'm conducting a search and I'm sitting at my computer all day, I can easily send out 100 messages. And what that tells you is that only 8 or 9 of those 100 people are going to get back to me. And those odds are so dramatically low that as a recruiter, you can't succeed on that alone. So one, there's a lot of other tools that we use to find you. But if you give us your phone number or your email address, you just moved it ahead of the class, okay? Because I can literally pick up the phone and call you immediately, and we can have a conversation. You go to the head of the class every time. So if you are an active candidate, you're on this call today, make sure you do yourself a favor, put your contact information in LinkedIn so that recruiters can find you. Jeff, I'm going to stop there and ask some questions that we haven't covered so far.
All right, let's see here. Well, good. John says LinkedIn Job Search School advises not to include any work experience beyond 15 to 20 years. What is your comments on that?
That's what they're suggesting, and then that's fine. I mean, you know, eventually, if you're doing it because you want to, if you're doing it because you don't want to tell your whole world how old you are, that you've had 10 jobs, that's fine. I understand. We will figure it out, okay, at some point, but that shouldn't be a concern of yours. If you've had a lot of jobs, that might be another one. Okay, that's okay. We're going to see a resume eventually. So, I kind of go both ways on it. I think that if somebody has been in one industry or with one company for 20 years, I think I'd want to show 2 companies just to demonstrate that I haven't just worked for one, I have worked for 2. I think that that's not a bad thing. But if you've had 5 jobs in the last 2 years, then I'd probably want to try to limit the amount of information as much as I could, just to not look like a job jumper.
All right, Clint says, if you're not working, is it better to keep the open to work on only to recruiters versus open to work to all?
If you are an active candidate, you're not working today, it's better to keep it on for all.
Because you never know who one of your friends, one of your contacts may see it. And you also have to consider less than 50% of recruiters use and pay for the LinkedIn recruiting package. It's not cheap. And so if you want to be found, put it on there.
And I gave a classic example, but let's take it to a real dramatic example. Let's say that you're actively looking for a job and you go to church with a group of people, and every week after that church service, you go and have coffee with families, and there's anywhere from 20 to 30 people that show up. And you know people in the group and you know their names, but you don't know what everybody does. And let's just say that one of the people in that group owns his own company, and he looks into LinkedIn, and all of a sudden your name pops up and he sees that you're actively looking. I mean, why wouldn't you do it? There's nothing that suggests that a candidate that has that green wreath is any less important or significant than anybody else. Highly recommend you put it on.
All right, I think that answers the next question by adding the green looking for work sign is mixed. Some people say use it, some people don't. Listen, all the opinions you hear are strictly opinions. If you like Kurt's opinions, follow his opinion. If you like my opinion, follow my opinion. If you don't like either of our opinions, you don't have to follow them. We're just showing, Kurt's just going, if you want people to find you, if you are currently unemployed, there's nothing wrong with putting the banner on anymore. I mean, but yeah, maybe when it first came out, or 15 years ago, I remember I got laid off, and you're laid off, people didn't want to be next to you. It's like, ooh, I'm afraid it may get rubbed off. But listen, most people who've been laid off nowadays, they've gone through this, they're going through this. Let people know you never know how you're going to get that next job.
You don't know. It's keeping the blinders off, Jeff. I mean, there's, this as we get older in life, we know more than we knew when we were 25 years old. And it doesn't mean that we're smart asses, but we've just been through life. We've had life experiences. And so that can work against us when we're going through a job search because we know too much. And so I want candidates to keep the blinders off as they go through their job search. There's going to be times when you're going to get calls from companies about brands that you're unsure of. I use the example of Ace Cash Express. I used to work for their executive team, and and when you talk to an executive that might be with an Intersect battery or something, and somebody might hear the Ace Cash Express brand and go, "Oh, that's dirty. It's ugly. It's not what I really want to do." Well, listen to the recruiter because there could be a lot of great things going on. In this particular case, Ace Cash Express is an amazing place to work, amazing benefits, amazing communication with their teams, really doing great work in an industry that actually at that time and today we needed, because not everybody had the ability to go open up a bank account. So my point is, keep the blinders off. You don't have to turn down jobs until you get job offers.
Repeat that again. That's important for people to hear.
You don't have to turn down jobs until you get job offers.
Right. Very good. That's important to know. All right, here's another good question. Under what circumstance will a recruiter leave a message? How do you improve those odds? What do you like to hear on the voicemail? Or what do you want to hear? What do you want when?
Well, if I'm leaving a message, or you're leaving a message for me?
If what's the best way to get you to leave a message? You know, have you ever, like, you get somebody's voicemail, do you not like what they say? Personally, when they don't leave a personal note, like, this is Jeff, sorry, I can't get to your phone, leave me a message, I'll leave a message. But when I get that generic, you've dialed 214-624-5555.
Yep.
I sort of like hang up, because if they haven't taken the time to give me a little bit of information.
So that goes into the personal branding piece, Jeff, and you couldn't be more spot on. As a recruiter, I'm trying to talk to as many people as I can, so I leave messages for everybody, whether they've taken the time to build a brand for themselves or not. But let me tell you something. I preached to all my kids on this, and they're all older, and you could check every one of their voicemails, and they'd have a message on there that sounds similar to mine. But the bottom line is, this is one of the greatest personal opportunities, branding opportunities that you have in leaving a voicemail. Why would you give that up to AT&T and let them leave a generic voice message for everybody that you care and know about, whether that's family, business, or people that want to get to know you? So I'm kind of scolding you. If you don't have a personal greeting on your message right now, you're missing out on an opportunity to brand yourself. Mine is, have a tremendous day. Because that's what I believe in. And then if you believe you can have a tremendous day, you will have a tremendous day, and tremendous things will happen. So I communicate that with a lot of energy, and people that leave me messages comment on my messages. Man, you're on fire, man, today, Kurt. Well, I'm on fire every day. But the bottom line is that is one branding opportunity that if you're not taking advantage of, you should change your thought process and go in and make change today. Second thing is, I can't tell you how many candidates don't have a signature block built in their email address. If you don't know what that is, write down signature block, go Google it afterwards and do your own research. But what it is it's every message you send out, you have the ability to give me your email address, your phone number, and a link to your LinkedIn profile. And maybe it's done with a little bit of creative art, and it's got your name in a fancy little way, or something that personalizes you. You need to turn that greeting on, or that message on, for every message that you send and everybody you reply to. Okay. So I tell you, I'm a recruiter. What bothers me, frustrates me more than anything at times, I'm working on 3 searches. I've taken a couple of days off. I'm still working, but company XYZ called and they want to talk to Jeff. And I didn't save Jeff's phone number in my phone. So I'm going through my phone trying to look for those text messages. I go to his email and there's nothing in there. There's no email address. There's no phone number. There's no contact information. And so now I'm reliant on just sending him an email that says, Jeff, I hope you are looking at email right now because I'm desperate. The company wants to meet with you now. Call me immediately. So, just assume that don't assume that recruiters are walking encyclopedias and that we have everybody's contact information every second of the day, everywhere we want to be. Put and build a signature block in your email and turn it on for every message you send and every message you reply to. You will again increase the odds of getting a call back from recruiters because it'll be so easy to find.
And be sure to do that beside doing it on your desktop, your laptop. Don't forget to do it on your mobile phones, because a lot of times you reply to a lot of emails via your mobile phone. You've got to also add it to that program there also.
Good advice.
What's the most effective way to connect with industry-specific recruiters if you don't have a common network connection?
Well, again, it's you're throwing darts. Okay, so if you've got nothing else on your radar for the afternoon, and that's one of the things that you've kind of determined you want to try to do, then I think that using, personally using articles or something that you found that you think would be provocative for that recruiter would be the way that I try to open up the door. I get every day, I probably get 10 emails with resumes and a cover letter. I don't read cover letters. I often open their resume quickly just to see who they are, where they're at, what their background is, because I do reply to everybody. And I try to reply with something that's meaningful other than just, I don't have a job for you. So if I can pick up something that, hey, I saw that you went to Notre Dame, huge Notre Dame fan, sorry we lost last weekend, and personalize that note, I try to do that as well. But my point is I think that differentiating and being a thought leader is probably the best way to do that.
When you say you open up people's resumes, do you like to see the Word document, a PDF document?
A Word document. Eventually, I work off of Word documents exclusively. I mean, I do use a lot of PDFs, but a Word document is perfect just for me to snap open and look. But I'll do the same with a PDF. I don't have a choice.
Okay. Let's see here. One more question before we get back to your presentation. Is it okay if I engage with multiple recruiters at the same time? Can
Absolutely.
I work with multiple recruiters for the same position?
Well, so if you're back to the contingent role where there are three, you've identified or they've identified you, and there's three different recruiting firms that are presenting your background, you're going to be in a little bit of hot water eventually. And so you want to just be careful. That's deep water, meaning that I'm a recruiter and I call you and I say, Jeff, I've got an opportunity for a VP of sales in Dallas. Would you be interested? It's with the Maytag company. Yeah, I'd really be interested in that. That's a great role. Can I send you your resume? Yeah, but shoot me the job brief. We have that discussion. Boom, boom. An hour later, Monica calls you and says, hey, Jeff, I've got a VP of sales job in Dallas with the Maytag company. You've got a great background. Would you be interested in that role? You start to go down the road with Monica. Eventually, the company is going to get both of those resumes, and one of those recruiters get their hand slapped. So you just got to be really careful. I don't think that happens all the time. That happens probably very infrequently, where you're getting multiple calls from multiple recruiters for the same job. But if you are, you want to be very careful, because you could end up making the recruiter angry and they just pull you out without presenting you. So that's a real slippery space.
All right. And one last question I think is really good not to ask. Can you place your contact information only for recruiters to see, or by placing the details, then your contact information is available to everybody? If you put your contact information in the contact field, only your first degree connections will be able to see it. If you put it in the about section, everybody will see it. There is no way to only let it be viewed by recruiters. If
Correct.
You don't want to put your personal phone number on there, get a Google Voice number. It's totally free. That way, your personal cell phone is not being given out.
Yep, I agree. Great advice, Jeff. Yeah. So what time we got here? I kind of lost
Got
track
about
of time.
6 or 7 minutes.
Okay. So, so we're on this candidate. Let's just go look at a couple more real quickly. I don't know that I can give you a whole lot more color, advice for anybody other than you've seen a number of different ways people that have used LinkedIn, and where you might be able to improve your LinkedIn profile. Jeff Sullivan does a great presentation on LinkedIn and comes through Jeff's platform. So if you've got questions on how to build a better LinkedIn profile, that's a great resource. And there's many of his seminars that are taped that might be advantageous as well. But I think the biggest thing is that candidates in general don't take advantage of the territory and of this real estate that I call being able to sell yourself and tell people who you are and what you've done. It's free real estate, and as a candidate actively looking, if you haven't filled up all that space, then you're not giving yourself as good a chance as you should.
Right. And that was Terry Sullivan, right? Terry,
not Jeff.
Yeah, they all have
Yep.
really good information.
Yep, exactly.
All right. So if you only had a couple of things you'd want to tell people you got to do, sort of that very first question we asked, what are not your pet peeves, but what is it you like to see? What is it to make your job easier, to make your job as a recruiter easier? What are those 2 or 3 bullet points?
Well, number one is if you're an active candidate, put the green wreath on. And secondly, as important, make sure that you're giving us your phone number and your email address so that we can reach you. Again, you will accelerate your search profoundly. And then just remember that your network is your net worth. And so use LinkedIn to tell your network what you're looking for, reach out to those people, have those conversations, have those coffees, and tell your network on a regular basis what they can do to help you. Because that's the best advice. I was in this meeting this morning, Jeff. I think this is good advice for any candidate as well. We talked about when you're networking with people that are active candidates or are people that are working today. So you're sitting down with an old boss, or you're sitting down with somebody else that's unemployed. The person that's unemployed will know how to network and introduce you real quickly. But when you're networking with somebody that's employed, make sure that you write them the follow-up note that you want them to send to the introduction. Hey, Jeff, great meeting today. You said you'd introduce me to Marvin. Here's the email that I would love for you to send to Marvin. All you need to do is put your introductory sentence at the beginning. Jeff, you'll send that note quickly and you won't have to worry about whether you got it right. You'll communicate it effectively. It'll be the right message. And everybody wins because you got to follow it right away.
Great. Well, Kurt, thank you very, very much. Thank you for your time.
Yep.
You're a busy man, always doing stuff. So thank you for spending an hour with us every month. So
love it. Have a blessed day. Thanks for all you do, Jeff.
All righty. Thank you. All right. Next week, let's see here, get the thing up here. Next week, I will be doing the presentation. LinkedIn, present yourself like a pro. I am actually going to be at a convention down in Orlando, Florida. I'll be presenting to those people who are at the convention. And then you'll be joining in as with us next Tuesday, next Tuesday with us. So please feel free to jump in with us. Let's see here. All right, if everybody will please raise your right hand, repeat after me. Jeff Morris, promise to always send a personal note whenever I send a LinkedIn request to connect with anyone. This includes when I use my cell phone or my computer. Now, I have some very bad news. As of October 1st, LinkedIn changed that you can only send 10 personal notes per month, which is really disappointing for a job seeker because you're trying to build connections with other people. So you can only do 10 of those per month. Hopefully they'll change it. The reason is, I've done a lot of research. I've heard a lot of comments that they're doing it because recruiters are bypassing paying LinkedIn for the recruiting package. So to get them to pay for the recruiting package, they want them to force them to have to upgrade to a higher package, either the professional package or the a recruiter light or the full-blown recruiting package, so they can send personal notes to everybody as they're trying to reach out to you. So once again, here's another reason to put your email address and phone number in your summary statement, because by doing so, if somebody wants to reach out to you, they'll be able to do so. So if you see somebody else's profile and you want to reach out to them, be very careful who you send out, because you can only send 10 per month. If they have an email address, send them a personal note via email going, I'm going to be sending you a LinkedIn connection. I hope you will connect with me to do that. One of the things we didn't talk about is that there's white connection buttons and blue connection buttons on LinkedIn. A white connection button will only send the generic invitation, okay? So what you want to do is you want to click on the person's face, go to their profile, and when you're on their profile, you should see a blue connect button. If you don't see it there, click on more and it'll open up a submenu, and that's where you can send a personal note. Career DFW, Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Please join us. Tomorrow, the practice interview team will be conducting a real live practice interview. You'll be able to watch it on Zoom only, will not be on Facebook. Will be on Zoom only. We've got the interviewee signed up. We've got 3 interviewers who will be interviewing the candidate. It will be about an hour and a half long, so come join us tomorrow. You'll get to see the interview. You'll get to see the feedback for the interview, and then you'll be able to offer your suggestions and comments and opinions at the end of the session. This Thursday, being the second Thursday of the month, we're going to talk all about networking, knockout approaches to networking with Michael Goldberg. It's a knockout approach because Michael, in his spare time, is a boxer. He likes to box. So everything he does is sort of focused on, the old knockout 1-2 punch. How are you going to make it work? So, networking is networking. It's pretty much the same thing. It's picking up the phone and talking to other people. Everybody has a little bit different method on how they do it. Maybe you'll like Michael's opinions. Maybe you'll pick up something that will help you want to network even more. And then this Friday, we have a great session coming up this Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group meeting. How to win over the holidays. Yes, it's hard to believe the holidays are coming up. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Christmas parties, Thanksgiving parties. You're going to be seeing families, friends. You'll be seeing lots of people over the next couple of months. So Dr. Susan Carson will be with us to talk about how to win over the holidays, master your mindset for success. If you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, come join us in person. Or if you're outside the DFW area, come join us on Zoom or Facebook Live. Yes, Scott, thank you. Hollow Thankmas is coming up. If you'd like to join the Career DFW or Career USA LinkedIn groups, you're welcome to join one or both. The Career DFW LinkedIn group has over 14,900 members. We're getting close to the 15,000 mark. You don't have to live in the DFW area to join either the group, to join that group or either group. But one thing is, I will look at your profile. And if your profile is not mostly complete, why are you on LinkedIn? Go spend the time this afternoon, spend a couple hours going over your profile, fill in as much information as you can. The more stuff you put on LinkedIn, the better keyword match, the better chance you have to match keywords so you can get that phone call. This session has been recorded. You will be able to view it on the Career DFW Facebook page or the Career USA YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, number one, subscribe to our YouTube channel. By doing so, every time we post a new video, you'll get a little alert. You'll be able to go back and watch it at your convenience. If you go to the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist because I have over 550 videos up right now. The best way to do it, click on playlist. Every video that I upload goes into one of 7 different playlists. Pick the one you want. Down at the very bottom where you see view full playlist by that red arrow. Click that, don't click on the video screen. And when you do, up will come a list of all the different dates, topics, and titles in chronological order. The newest one should be on top. It'll take 2 or 3 hours for LinkedIn to get this one up and going, but it'll be up there hopefully by dinner time tonight. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops and you'd like to join our mailing list, That way you'll find out everything that we're doing. Just scan this QR code, or you can send a blank email to Career USA, plus the subscribe at groups.io. You don't have to put anything in the email. You'll never be spammed, but what you will get is the topic of the day, the title of the day, and most importantly, the Zoom link of the day. Please remember, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees. All of our speakers are volunteer. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 15 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us, everybody. Have a great Tuesday, and we hope to see you Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week.